giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Chip. Tuesday. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. It is Tuesday, February 8th, 2022, and Cowboys Nation is in the building. Today, we're going to talk about continuing the free agent edition of our series in the offseason. Deep dive into the impending free agents, a lot of them from the 2018 draft class. So today we'll talk about the former first-round pick, Leighton Vander Esch. Did he do enough to return? Why he could return, and why Dallas could move on. We'll also talk about my version of some of his possible replacements in free agency, replacements not named Jabril Cox, because that could be one of his replacements. But the Cowboys are going to have to go into free agency and sign some linebackers. You're not going to roll out Micah Parsons and a bunch of drafted guys. It's not going to happen. So who can the Cowboys go into free agency and help replenish a very needing linebacker position? That room has dwindled down, in my opinion, from the start of training camp last year to now. So we'll look at a few, I call them Catboy free agents, and then one that I really am interested in a what I think is a light linebacker free agency class. Also some coaching news in the roundup that we'll get to. And as always, man, you can call in if you want, 351-999-3787, 351-999-3787. Real quick, shout out to my guy, CJ Richards. He's a day one here all the time. It is his birthday, man. Clap it up for our guy, CJ. Happy birthday, brother. Hope you enjoy it. Glad you're starting off your birthday here with us at A to Z Sports. Your boy Skywalker. Happy birthday, good brother. Appreciate you being here like you do each and every day. Even if you're late. Nah, I'm just messing with you because, usually I'm the late one. So happy birthday, man. A couple other shout-outs. Sadiq in the building. Matt Goddix. Alpha Mason. Stevie Mac, the My God. TC915. Moat Mosley. Jedi, Shogun, Frankie Franchise, C. Burleson, Mary Co., G10, Will Anthony, Captain America. There you go, Captain America in the building. A. Lewis, Adam Mack, Miss Nisi, Sin City Cowboy, and here on Facebook, our birthday guy, CJ Richards, Corey Coleman, Sunshine Janae. Who else we got here? D.A. Lee, Lance Bell, Chuck P., Peter Rizzo, and Charles P. in the building. If you guys missed the show, make sure you run it back later. We will have the audio uploaded on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Google, Apple, all that stuff. We are going to be changing over our podcasting platform, so bear with us as we do that in the coming days or weeks. I'm not sure if there's going to be a delay with the audio, but if you can't watch it or listen to it there, come back here on YouTube or Facebook. It will be here. How you doing, Jonathan Scruggs, James Simmons, Roger Smith. I saw somebody else here. Jake Jones in the building, and Jason 305. Matt says, Sky, who's your favorite Marvel character? Oh man, that's the easy one. I don't have the gauntlet with me right here, but it's Tony Stark, Iron Man. Iron Man's my guy. That is my guy. Me and my son's favorite is Iron Man. So there's that for you, Matt Goddix. Oscar Sullivan in the building, and Roger Smith. All right, listen, we'll jump straight into the roundup, and then coming out of that, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the show. But the roundup, a little interesting, because this coaching news to me was supposed to be about nothing. Then it became something maybe it still is about nothing. I found something out this morning that we'll talk to in the roundup. All right, let's get to it.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
See, CJ is trying to age me, man. This is the morning roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals are not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness, a solution for your fitness goals. Check out any of the 9 locations in the DFW area. I've got one about literally 10 minutes away from me. Or visit TexasFamilyFitness.com and let them know that Skywalker Steel and A to Z Sports sent you. Coaching news. Cowboys hire a new wide receiver coach. I mean, this really isn't the coaching news that a lot of Cowboys Nation wanted to hear, but here we are. There's a lot of nuggets from this news that I'll read off. But I first want to start with, he's going to be replacing, by the way, his name is Robert Prince. He recently was the wide receiver coach in Houston for 1 year, but prior to that, he was a long-standing wide receiver coach in Detroit. There's also some other things prior to that. First off, he replaces Adam Henry, who coached here for 2 seasons. Most assistant coaching contracts are 2 years. His contract ran out. The Cowboys offered him an extension, but he turned it down. So at first, I thought this Robert Prince move there might have been more to it due to his relationship with Kellen Moore, which we'll get to in a second. But it's more so the Cowboys needed to replace the wide receiver coach who didn't want to come back. So is there really an underlining positive connection here? Sure, there's a connection, and let's get to that. Robert Prince, Boise State. He was the offensive coordinator there in 2012 and 2013. And in his first year under that role, 5 players from his offense received all Mountain West honors as they went 11-2 in that year. He also was the offensive coordinator the same time that Jay Ajayi became, a big name in college football. And I bring up Jay Ajayi because, he's a running back. But Robert Prince will be here working with the wide receivers. He also was I shouldn't say Kellen Moore's wide receiver coach, but he was the coach in Kellen Moore's final year at Boise State in 2011. He goes back even farther to Boise State. In 2003, he was their passing game coordinator there. And in between all of that, he's been a coach in the NFL bunch. He coached as a passing game coordinator at Colorado State. So he has a ton of experience, 56 years old. He's been with the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the Texans, and he was with the Lions the longest in his career. Could this help Kellen Moore? Well, it all depends what Robert Prince's role will be in the offense, right? Will he have Kellen's ear? Because if you think about those who did, there wasn't many. Doug Nuss, not really. Scott Linehan's gone, so that's somebody that Kellen could lean on because that's his guy. There's no Jason Garrett might have had too much. Him and McCarthy, they aren't boys, or they don't have a relationship. Maybe, just maybe, Robert Prince can be that outlet for Kellen Moore to get better. Who knows? Just trying to find something here. But there's an obvious connection. And I thought it could have been a really good positive connection until I heard that Adam Henry just said, nah, I'm good. I don't want to come back to Dallas. So we need to find a new wide receiver coach. And they picked this guy here. Robert Prince, new wide receiver coach in Dallas with connections to Kellen Moore. We will see if that means anything. D-Block88 says, hey, Sky, do you trust it? I trust it as far as I can see it. I don't have a reason to distrust it. I think that is a positive connection with Kellen. I just don't know what role he'll have in game planning and route concepts and scheme, things like that. Because I don't know if Adam Henry had any role like that. Cash says feels like a long time. Will says, "Oh, that's perfect. We wanted a Lions assistant who was also Kellen Moore's friend. That sounds about right." I get it. Listen, I totally understand Will Burney. I get it. Here in Dallas, we have a bad taste in our mouths of coaches that hire friends or I don't even want to use the term friends. He's 56. Kellen's 30-something. They're probably not friends. But former associates and things like that. There's definitely a bad taste in the Cowboys Nation's mouths with that. But that is kind of standard around the league. You're going to bring guys you're familiar with. I mean, look at Dan Quinn. We're not getting on Dan about it because it worked. Aiden Durde, right? Joe Witt Jr. No one's complaining about him bringing his guys over because it helped win. So I totally get it. Bad taste from 2020 with Mike Nolan and the defensive line coach, friends with Mike McCarthy, didn't work out. We'll see about this one. I trust it as far as I can see it. If he can help Kellen Moore with this offense, I'm cool with it, Cowboys Nation. I'm cool with it. If not, then, we can move on after a year or two. But I still think I would love to get a Mike Munchak type of guy in here that can help Kellen develop and learn and really, like I said, develop a run game system. They don't have that. Kellen Moore doesn't have that in his repertoire right now. Again, we talked about this yesterday. Young guy. Very, very young guy. I think he'll get better. He's still early in his career as an offensive coordinator, but it doesn't hurt to bring in people that can help you and aid you and make you a more complete offensive game planner and offensive game caller. Maybe that is this guy, Robert Prince. I have a hard time believing he'll do anything for you in the ground game department. Maybe he'll sneak in some advice. I mean, he did call the offense in Boise where Jay Ajayi had like 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns or something of that nature. So maybe. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that Robert Prince is going to be the savior. I'm not saying any of that. Just trying to connect the dots here. Just connecting the dots. Los, we got Los on the horn, man. You got some thoughts on this hire, Los?
Hey, what up, Sky? I just want to call in early morning. Long time no talk.
Appreciate you, brother.
But, hey, what I tell you about these Boise State people, man?
They love Boise State.
I think they love Boise State. I don't know why, but they just love Boise State. I don't know. I think the Jones have a little bit too much of what they drink over there. But
to be fair, it's been a long time since he's been at Boise. 10 years.
Yeah. But what I think about it is Stevie Mack did make a good point that he has coached up Golden Tate, Galladay, and these boys from Detroit. And, maybe, just maybe, another commenter said that maybe we can put these wide receivers in place because so much of the wide receivers weren't helped just by, like, for example, I don't know if you remember that play, but when two wide receivers were right at the same, area just to catch a ball, that's an issue, And I don't know if that came to coaching or if that came to the scheme, but, hopefully that will get it.
Probably schematic.
So, like I said, Sky, I don't think much of it until time is proven otherwise. I just hope that Cowboys just keep taking steps forward as a team and as an organization just to try and, improve because what we fail to continue is just a consistency of excellence, and that's what we need to find in ourselves and in this coaching. Because, yes, we can start hot in the season, but it's what matters what you do at the end. Like, for example, the Bengals. No one knew what they were going to do until, right when it matters. And you got to give credit to that coaching staff and everything. And you had a point, Sky, most of these coachings that were in the Final Four, they came from a McVay tree. So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
The Shanahan tree is starting to expand pretty big right now. We're talking about Kyle, McVay, Mike Daniels, Zach Taylor, and LaFleur. And all five of those teams, aside from Miami, they all play, in the second round of the playoffs, championship game, or Super Bowl in the last 3 years. So, I know the NFL and fans made fun of, hey, if you're around McVay, ha ha, you'll get hired. Well, Zach Taylor's in the Super Bowl, so.
Exactly. And my last point is this: if we do keep this wide receiver coach, or not keep, but if he does work out, I primarily think he better have Cooper to work with, because if we get rid of Cooper, man, Cowboys have some tough sledding. And that's just my thoughts on it. Jeez, guy.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, well, it looks like he may not have Cooper, but we'll see. Obviously, we'll follow it here. Here's some more nuggets from the Texans website. Obviously, like I said, I kind of glossed over it, but he was with Detroit for 7 seasons, 2014 to 2020, where they had Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., Danny Amendola, Golden Tate. He did coach them for 1 game as a head coach because of the COVID-19 stuff. Last year, they got whooped, though. Coached the Seahawks in 2009, 2007, 2008. He coached Jacksonville Jaguars as their assistant wide receiver coach. Prince was an offense assistant in 04 to 06 with Atlanta. And 17 seasons in the NCAA. So not just Boise State. 17 seasons from Boise, Colorado, Portland State, and 4 other colleges. So he has a ton of experience. And then kind of a cool nugget here. He was an offensive coordinator for the Recruit Seagulls in the Japanese X League in 1996 and 1997. I didn't even know that existed. So I don't even know what the Japanese X League is, but I believe he has some Japanese descent to him. So that makes sense then. So that is our new wide receiver coach. Hopefully he can help the Cowboys. Usually you don't really hear about these guys unless something comes up. I remember when Derek Dooley, I think there was an incident between him and some of the wide receivers. I think Dez was still here at that time. If you hear about the assistants, there's a problem. And Derek Dooley, that was one of the years. They just weren't connected. I think Dooley ended up being a head coach in Tennessee or something like that, and now he's everywhere. Usually these guys are in the tuck. We didn't hear about Adam Henry for most of the year. Adam decided to move on. They hired this guy. Let's see what happens. All right, let's take a quick little, I don't want to call it a break, just to kind of reset. We'll come back and we'll get into the meat potato, which is, did LVE do enough to come back to the Dallas Cowboys?
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Anybody ever see that? I forget the cat's name. F it, we'll do it live. Hilarious. I forget his name. Terrible dude, by the way. All right, let's get into this free agent list. Really not a free agent list. We're just going to go down some of the important players on the Cowboys roster over the last few years that contracts have expired, or over the last year that contracts have expired, and see should they return. LVE is part of that class in 2018 that has 0 extensions right now. I've showed you guys the list a bunch of different times. Let's take a look at LVE's timeline, though, since he's been here. He was drafted in 2018 as a first-round pick. Was an all-pro. Right off the bat. Looked great. Looked like he had a bright future. A Sean Lee replacement. Then it all went downhill. His injuries, which were a concern coming into the NFL, popped back up, right? The neck situation, along with a couple other things. He missed 13 games between 2019 and 2020. And even in the games he played, I said this coming into the year, the injuries limited LVE. I think they played a big factor in his play dropping off. So therefore, the Cowboys did not pick up his 5th-year option. So he came into this season with a lot to prove. Well, of course, just like everybody else on this list, aside from maybe a Connor Williams, the 2018 draft class said, okay, you want me to prove it? I'm going to play the most games. I'm going to have a career years, et cetera, et cetera. Well, LVE decided to play his most snaps since his rookie season, which coincided, before you kill me here, with his best year since then. Now, that's not saying a whole lot, right? Like his the 2 years before 2021 weren't that great. And it wasn't like 2021 was this amazing year for LVE. It was his best year since his rookie season, though. To me, LVE's main issue was stacking together good games. How many times did we talk about that on this show, right? His inconsistencies were real. They were absolutely real. He'd have a good game or two, and then he followed up with 3 mediocre to below average games. He hardly stood out. Didn't really make his presence felt much. But the good games that he did have, you're like, okay, LVE, I see you. Just wasn't enough for me. So aside from him not really being a scheme fit, I don't know that he did enough to say, yo, bring him back as a starter. However, when you go look at the landscape of the linebacker room in free agency, it's not so great. It's not so great. So that could lead the Cowboys to show some interest in bringing him back. And I'm sure they'll probably offer him some cheap contract. You know, Dallas will offer all their guys. If you are our baby, we drafted you, we groomed you, we will offer you a contract. But here's my hesitation. And I'm going to play a devil's advocate on my hesitation. It's Dan Quinn. It's Dan Quinn. We know Dan Quinn as a type. And we'll get to that. And LVE doesn't fit that type. But if I play devil's advocate to that, I can say, well, if they want to bring him back, Dan Quinn can say, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. However, I'd go with the former because I feel like you can replace LVE in a multitude of different ways, be it the draft or free agency. Now, LVE, while he may not price himself out, all it takes is one team. And he ended up making maybe the play of the year for him in that playoff game, right? Remember the 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 5, and he tackled Debo for 1 yard. 1 yard short of the first down. They punt the ball. Cowboys get it back with a chance to go get the dub. They didn't do it, but LVE made that stop. And that's something that, you know, will carry on throughout the offseason when he decides to go get a contract. So maybe one team will look at him and say, hey, man, a New England Patriots or something, and they'll pay him above market value, and he'll be out of Dallas. And honestly, you should kind of be wanting that to happen so you can get that comp pick. I don't know that LVE is so worthy of bringing back as a starter to lose a comp pick and B, be a stopgap with a guy like Jabril Cox that you drafted last year. I don't know that I want him to thwart Jabril Cox's progress as a linebacker in the NFL. So I would kind of move forward with LVE myself, meaning move on from LVE. But let's take a look at some potential LVE replacements in free agents. There's not a lot. The linebacker room is very scarce, Cowboys Nation. Very, very scarce in regards to free agency. And here's the thing that Cowboys Nation has to do when we go look at free agents, right? We understand Dallas is not going to participate in the top tier, hardly the mid-tier free agent market. So you have to operate on two sides. You have to operate as Catboy, which we have here, right? If you look over here. Catboy free agent linebackers, and then you can operate as a fan. Who is it that you think would be a good hire here or a good free agent addition here? Yeah, it may cost you a little bit more, but they fit. They fit the criteria, be it coaching and play. Let's start with Catboy's free agents first. Start with Catboy. Because your Cowboys are going to sign free agent linebackers. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of what kind. So, Jermaine Carter. I'm only listing this guy because he fits the criteria. He fits Quinn's criteria and he fits Catboy's criteria. And that is, he's 6'1", I believe, about 225 pounds, on the sub 30, the right side of 30 years old. But he wasn't that good last year. He had like a whopping 15 or 20 missed tackles, depending on where you look at. His missed tackle percentage was in the 15 to 18%, which is really not good at all. But again, a guy who is going to be on the cheap, Probably get him for a 1-year deal. Not a lot of money. He's that athletic, faster type of linebacker that Dan Quinn likes. And if you don't know the type, then I'll illustrate it for you. Between about 6'1" to 6'3", right? 6'1" to 6'3", and he likes sub 235, 230 linebackers. If you're going to go above that, you kind of got to be a freak. You got to be Micah Parsons, right? You got to be an athletically gifted out this world. Maybe Jabril Cox is 6'3", 234, so he fits under that mold that I'm talking about. But Jabril Cox is even a bigger type of backer than Dan Quinn usually drafts. But he fits under that mold. He can cover, and he's athletic, so he still fits under the check mark. He checks all the boxes. Jermaine Carter checks the boxes, but this is more of a cat boy look to me. I don't think he was that good last year. It was his first year getting a start, according to the Panther people, due to him being behind Luke Kuechly, et cetera, et cetera. And I think they lost somebody else last year, too. I can't remember who it was. But don't be surprised if a Jermaine Carter type gets signed by the Cowboys. The other two actually are pretty solid players. Neville Hewitt. Neville Hewitt is a bit of a journeyman. Won't cost you a lot, shouldn't cost you a lot. He only played on a $1.7 million contract in 2021 with the Texans. By the way, the Texans just pretty much... The Texans players, it's hard to look at what players did last year in Houston and judge them negatively or positively because it was Houston. It was a mess over there. But nonetheless, he played in Miami, played in New York. He was actually better in New York and went to Houston, was behind Christian Kirksey, and I forget the other cat. Started some, dealt with some injuries, dealt with getting lost in the sauce down there in Houston. But he's got those traits, 6'2", 235 or 234. He plays aggressive, and he has an attitude. I'd like to see a little bit more of an attitude at the position, at the linebacker position myself. I don't think that Keanu Neal project worked out. Maybe we'll touch on him another day, but I feel like he's going to be gone. And LVE is LVE. All you really had, in my opinion, was Micah Parsons. So maybe a Neville Hewitt can come in, be that veteran presence. If you need him to start, he can start. Personally, y'all know me, I'm a big Jabril Cox fan. I would love for Jabril Cox for him to be that guy, but I also understand you got to have depth, especially at a linebacker, at a position where it's nothing but car crashes every single play. So you're going to need at least 5 of them. And right now, you legitimately have 2, right? Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox. I mean, we could talk about Luke Gifford and the other cat from Utah. But I mean, let's be real, man. Luke Gifford's been on the team 4 years. He is what he is at this point. The staff doesn't see him beyond that. And Francis Bernard, he's a special teams guy. So you're going to sign a veteran, likely. It's just a matter of what kind of veteran. So far, there's Jermaine Carter and Neville Hewitt. Neville Hewitt would be number 2 or 3, really, on the list that I'm looking at right now of realistic free agents. Remember, we're talking realistic free agents. Will says, have we really seen Francis? We haven't really seen Francis. We haven't really seen Gifford. But at this point, if they were going to get on the field, y'all, this would have been the year. And that's why I was frustrating about, in my opinion, Luke Gifford. I like Gifford better than Francis Bernard. I never really was high on him coming out anyway. But Luke Gifford, I thought he had some potential to at least do something and just could never get on he couldn't beat out LVE. So frustrating. I'm not saying you get rid of Luke. You can keep Luke for special teams and depth. But if you go into next year, Micah Parsons, Jabril Cox, Luke Gifford, Francis Bernard, you in trouble. Even if you draft a young guy. That's not, in my opinion, a quality linebacking group. I need to bring in guys that I've known been here and have done it, and that can help me out in a pinch, can start if I need them to, and can be playmakers if I need them to. So I would definitely still be looking at the free agent market, even if it's Catboy free agents. You got to go. You have to sign somebody. You have to. The third guy, which honestly, if you can get him for a contract like he played on last year, I think you get a steal. I've been a huge fan of Quan Alexander. Problem with Quan Alexander is he just gets hurt a lot. But that's right up Dallas Cowboys' alley. That's right up the Dallas Cowboys alley. They like to get guys on the right side of 30 that has a talent, that's been injured, that they can get in here on a 1-year deal. I would sign him to 2, but on a 1-year cheap deal and see if they can get some value out of it. Quan Alexander could be that guy. He played on a $1.1 million contract last year with the New Orleans Saints. The problem is, like I said, he's often injured. He hasn't played 16 games since 2016. But he has that talent, man. He still oozes that talent that made him a prominent NFL linebacker early in his career. And I think he got a contract extension at one point. He just kept getting hurt. That was a problem. Here's his numbers, though, in New Orleans. He played 535 snaps, had 3.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 7 quarterback hits. That might not sound like a lot, but to put that in perspective, Leighton Vander Esch played 661 snaps, had 4 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 sack, and he doubled up Quan Alexander in regards to blitz rate, how much he was blitzed. He blitzed twice as much as Quan Alexander, had less sacks and less quarterback hits and less pressures. Quan can play. Not a perfect linebacker, but he can play. And if you put me in the room with Micah Parsons, Quan Alexander, I love Nakobe Dean. I haven't talked about linebackers yet, or Devin Lloyd, or one of these young bucks early in the draft. And Jabril, Quan, Jabril, Micah, and one of them young bucks, let's work. Let's work. I'll be with it. I like Quan Alexander. It's just that, did he make enough plays last year to outprice himself in Dallas? We know the cap threshold. I think it was Stevie Mack. We were kind of joking about it, right? It's like $3.5 million, 5 tops is where he'd go. And then the next person I'm going to bring up here, I'm going to try to utilize the Keanu Neal situation. But I feel like I go to Quan and say, hey, man, if you don't want to sign a multi-year extension, mind you, he's only 26 still. He's still a young cat, I believe. I think he's 26. 27. So he's still fairly young. If he wants to bet on himself, what better place to come bet on yourself than Dallas? You're going to play on a ton of primetime games, and your price is going to increase just because you're in Dallas. So I would holler at it. Antoine says, LVE takes a pay cut. Do you keep him? Well, there's nothing to take a pay cut for, Antoine. He's a free agent. He's a free agent. So unless you're saying on a cheap deal, on a vet minimum type of deal, sure, but I'd rather give that vet minimum or cheap deal to Quan Alexander. I'd rather give it to Quan. David C says, KJ Wright. I hear you. I was looking at KJ Wright last year. I thought he would have been phenomenal to be in here next to Micah Parsons in his rookie year. They obviously, and KJ doesn't fit the bill at all. The only thing that KJ has is that he played under Dan Quinn for a couple years. So there's familiarity there. But he's 6'4". He's like close to 260. He's a bigger dude. He's like 33 now. I can't really see KJ Wright. They didn't do it last year. I don't know if they're going to do it this year, as he's a year older, things like that. So I like KJ Wright as a player. I would love to have him on my team. I just don't know if Dallas would do it. I don't know if he would do it. Tom talking about the Cap Bowl. Will said we got some splashes out of Gifford. Yeah, man, I'm a Luke Gifford guy. I'm a big Luke Gifford guy. At the very least, give him a shot. Over the last 2 years, you had no reason not to. And I think it could come back and bite them in the butt. Not bite him in the butt, but if Luke could have showed something in 2020, maybe you're not worried about your linebacking room as much. I don't know, as much as you are right now, but it is an absolute need. Micah Parsons, this is why I don't want Micah to go down to defensive end. You move Micah down there, you are super light at the linebacker spot. Go get me a Quan. Get the Quan. Now, here's a guy. Damn. Just sounded like Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy. No, seriously, though. Here's a guy where, all right, I list the Catboy free agents, Cowboys Nation. Here's Catboys. Now, here's Skywalker's fan free agent. And it's one, Foye Aluakan. Don't kill me. Don't don't kill me just yet on Foye Oluokun. I understand he is not going to be cheap, but let's just go in the background about Foye, okay? 6'2", in that 215, 220 range. So he perfectly fits Dan Quinn's checkbox. In fact, Dan Quinn drafted Foye. He originally was drafted in 2018 in the 6th round, and he broke out in 2020. So he is literally a Dan Quinn guy. And this year, he put it all together and led the league with tackles with 192 tackles. Now, before you kill me and say, oh, tackles, listen, you don't judge a linebacker on just tackles. You don't. But this isn't the Jalen Smith type of situation here. This cat is a playmaker. 11 tackles for loss last year, 48 stops, 3 interceptions. Of the linebackers with at least 100 tackles, Foye Oluokun was 3rd in the NFL in missed tackle percentage at 5, behind only Bobby Wagner and Devondre Campbell, who is another Dan Quinn guy. Interesting. Oluokun, Wagner, Devondre Campbell, all coached by Dan Quinn at some point. And Devondre Campbell, while I would love to have him, he's definitely, like, Oluokun's probably out of your price range, but Devondre's definitely out of your price range. Stevie would tell you we were beating the table to get a Devondre Campbell in here last year. Didn't happen. Made the All-Pro team. He's going to get paid. But Oluokun is a fast, quick, twitchy, high IQ playmaker. He's a playmaker, ladies and gentlemen. Over the last 2 seasons, he has 5 sacks, 10 pass breakups, 5 forced fumbles, and 5 interceptions. I know he won't be cheap, but Dan Quinn has some pull. Don't we think Dan Quinn has a little bit of pull? I'm not saying you just break the bank for Oluokun. If it costs, you bringing the Brinks truck out, all right, you listen, we out, right? But if Quinn can go to Stephen Jones and say, hey, Quinn, hey, Stephen, you let me get some room with the Keanu Neal project, right? Stephen Jones went up a little bit on his price range. He paid Keanu Neal $5 million in last year, which he doesn't normally do that. In fact, Keanu Neal costs more than all the safeties on the roster combined, I think. So Stephen came up a little bit. Could Dan Quinn go to Stephen and say, hey, man, listen, this cat is the real deal. Super athletic, a playmaker. You pair him next to Micah, and then Jabril Cox in the room. You got a ridiculously talented, athletic room. You think you can come up a little bit, You think you can open up the pockets just a little bit. Just bring this cat in here. I promise you, if it doesn't work out, you can put it on me. Maybe Quinn has that type of pull, of that type of sway. And that's just me speaking as a fan right now. In reality, though, it's probably the Catboy free agent list that the Cowboys go down. But I'm telling y'all, this linebacking room is very light in regards to free agents. But if I had to list 2 of the more realistic ones, Quan would be the one. He'd be number 1 on top of realistic. And under my fan realism, it'd be Oluokun. And the only reason why I list him there is because his ties with Dan Quinn and the possibility of just maybe getting him at a better price than backing up the Brinks truck. How we feeling? How we feeling about these names? Y'all can give me some more names too, and we can talk about them. Yeah, right, Stevie Mac. He said Devondre Campbell's spot rack value is sitting at $6.2 million. What if he's willing to take a 3-year, $18 million deal? If he's willing to take a 3-year, $18 million deal, I'll come in there and sign it right now. Y'all know damn well he's not. He just made All-Pro. This is his first opportunity to become a high-priced free agent linebacker. Devondre Campbell ain't taking no little cheap thing. Tom says, Sky, Steven even plays hardball with birthday gifts. He won't let DQ go above his range. He went above his range. He did. I know I'm using it. This is cheating, though. Keanu Neal's cheating. It was 1 year. It was $5 million. It wasn't like it was a $10 million a year contract over 4 years. But he talked him into Keanu. He got Steven to say, listen, man, I got this safety. I want to move him to linebacker, and I want you to pay him more than you're comfortable with paying. Could he do it for Quan? Mel says Quan sounds like a future Cowboy. Man, if I had to rank these guys, in fact, if I had to rank any free agent linebacker out on the market right now, Quan Alexander would be number one on so many, on the Dan Quinn criteria, on the Stephen Jones criteria, and the talent criteria. He is this year's Malik Hooker. He's this year's Malik Hooker. Lots of talent, oft injured. When he did play, he showed you that talent. Likely going to come, I don't know if he's coming off an injury, but likely going to play on maybe another prove-it deal or a small deal. And what better place to do it than Dallas? DP says he actually likes Carter. He moves well and plays aggressive. Yeah, take a look at Hewitt. I think you'll like Hewitt better. If you like aggression, you'll like Hewitt. Quan would fit, but we would need a one tech to get something out of any of these guys. Injuries scare me. Well, that's the thing with Quan, right? That's the injuries. He's your KZ. He's your Hooker. He's your LVE. He's your Sean Lee. Injuries are attached with Quan Alexander. But as for Carter, honestly, I'm out on a Jermaine Carter. I list him though because he fits that criteria. I did some brief. I didn't go all the way in like I would for a Cowboy, but I did some brief studying. I did some brief researching, going to the Panthers people. They weren't too fond of Jermaine. In fact, a lot of their fan base and people that cover them are okay with him leaving. And if you talk about needing a one tech in front, I mean, Jermaine Carter had some really good front seven help, and he missed a lot of tackles. I think his average tackle depth was around the 4-yard or beyond mark, so it wasn't like he was a big-time playmaker. Neville and Quan actually made a lot of plays. Neville Hewitt, again, a journeyman, so he's been around the block. He was with the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets. He's a veteran. More productive in New York, I think could be an asset here as a veteran guy. You're losing. LVE may be who he is, but we saw on Hard Knocks, and we saw sometimes the sounds of the sideline. It's not conventional. It's not the way we probably would do it, but LVE was kind of a nice soundboard to Micah Parsons. If you don't replace LVE's veteranship, per se, with another guy, who is that guy in the room? It ain't Gifford. It ain't Jabril Cox. It ain't Francis Bernard. Who is it, right? Like, veterans do matter at the end of the day for more reasons than just their on-field production. We got on LVE for telling Micah, hey, man, you can't make every play. But we saw early on in his young, super young career, Micah had to kind of say, all right, let me calm down. Sometimes the play does have to develop and et cetera, et cetera. So, you got to get a veteran guy in there. Mike Wade says, Stephen Jones bring you in on a 1-year deal, outplays a contract. Now you're in the bidding war for his services going forward. Yeah, I mean, that is the way. That is the way of the land for the Dallas Cowboys. That's just how we do it, Mike. That's just how we do it. James said, Steven messed up the cap extending Jalen Lyell instead of Dak. Don't you want to include Zeke in there? How much is the salary cap increase for this year? It's up to $208 million. Lyell's contract is not that bad, by the way. I don't even usually include Lyell in regards to bad contracts because he is a right tackle. He's a right tackle, technically still. And I don't think his contract was all that bad, in my opinion. And he has that flexibility to move inside. I think they screwed the pooch, jumping the gun on Jalen Smith, jumping the gun on Ezekiel Elliott. You can argue they could have reached some type of agreement with Byron Jones, but you don't sign a linebacker and a running back and then franchise tag your defensive ends twice before you extend your quarterback. I mean, that to me is showing me that he has no idea what the hell he's doing right now. No idea. Devondre Campbell estimate. So Dave is coming back with the estimate 2 years to $6.5 million. Brother, that ain't happening. I would be shocked if Devondre Campbell signs a contract for $6.5 million after becoming an All-Pro. Shocked. Bash Walker still day 2. What does that mean? Got to clarify that one, man. Mel says, if LVE got hurt like he usually does, he'd be back in Dallas in a 1-year deal. I mean, he very well could still be back, Mel. He could still be back. You know, I don't think he had all that impressive of a year to garner big money. I would move on because I just don't think he's a scheme fit. I don't think he's really a Dan Quinn guy. You know, his days were numbered the minute Dan Quinn was hired. Him and Jalen Smith. I just didn't think Jalen Smith would be cut in the middle of the year. Adrian says Cowboys told DeMarco to go, but folded to Zeke. Dak's contract was late. The thought process of locking up a young talent was sound, but totally the wrong player in Jalen. Yeah, you just wait one more year on Jalen. Just wait one more year when you're running. 2 years, honestly. There's no way I'm ever extending my running back 2 years prior to his contract being up. That's blasphemy. A lot can happen in 2 years with your running back. Hence, look what's happening. CJ said, will Dan Quinn try to work with Curse and keep him? Yeah, I think that's who will attack next, possibly tomorrow, is J-Ron. I wanted to kind of stick with the 2018 draft class, so we'll see. Because, again, I'll bring up the statistic, but we just don't sign a ton of our free agents on multi-year deals, right? And right now, there's 0 so far. And I think I might have a typo in one of these years, but nonetheless, the only year that the Cowboys have signed more than 2 players on a multi-year extension from their draft classes since 2010 is 2016. It's 2016. So I kind of want to see, is there a player that the Cowboys will bring back on a multi-year deal in that class? So far, I might see one name. And it's not the name a lot of people may want to hear, but it might be a Dorrance Armstrong, honestly. I think Dalton Schultz will price himself out. I mean, I don't think LVE fits. I don't see Connor Williams coming back. 3 other of those picks aren't even on the team anymore. Ced Wilson's another sneaky one too, but maybe we'll dive into a little bit more of that 2018 draft class tomorrow. Tom is on a roll. We should bring back Bobby Carpenter. Totally, Bart. You know what's funny about LVE? He was better than Bobby Carpenter here in Dallas. A lot of people get him, white linebacker, drafted in the first round, a bust for the most part. I get the comparison to Barbie, as they called him. But I think he was better than Bobby Carpenter during his time here. If y'all remember, though, when Bobby left, Tony threw that pick 6 to him in Detroit. It was just, these type of things just happen to the Dallas Cowboys, right? It just happened to the Dallas Cowboys. Brando said, I've been a savage since yesterday. I don't talk about, man. We just keep it real. That's all. We just keeping it real. Oh, wow. So, CJ, you share a birthday with LVE. We not crapping on him, Stevie. Hey, listen, dog. LVE, you had your most productive year of your career post 2018, your rookie season. However, you may just have to carry on your career with another team. That's all. So real quick, so I can get a kind of a gist of how we're feeling here. Yes or no? Do you re-sign Leighton Vander Esch back here in Dallas with the Dallas Cowboys? Yes or no? I need to see it to get a better feel of those who are watching the show today of LVE. Yes or no? Bring back one Leighton Vander Esch. Because I think it's more mixed than well, from the comments I was seeing, than I may have thought. And mind you, here are my Catboy free agents, and then the one I really, really want, which is probably too much, is Foye Oluokun. No, yes, no. Sully says Savage hanging up on people. Ain't nobody even been calling. What you talking about, Sully? You want to call in? Come on in, brother. Talking about. Are you asking realistically or fan-wise? Realistically, I mean, you know what? That is 2 points. That is two different questions. I'm actually asking for the fans. Do you want to bring back LVE on a 1 year, not 1 year deal, just period? No, yes, no. Stevie Mac, nah. Ruben, no. Peter, no. Nisi, yes for the body. Nah, but I'm okay if they do. I'm kind of there, Ian. No, doesn't fit the scheme. Yes, cap friendly. Yes, Mel Hayes. No, D Block. I mean, this is a lot more mixed than I thought, to be honest with you. I thought that you guys would be all out on LVE. I'm kind of feeling like Ian. I'm out, but if they bring him back, I totally get it. Because if you go look at the landscape of the linebacker rooms in free agency, it's especially for what Dan Quinn wants, just not a lot. Just not a lot there. Honestly, these are some of your best bets. Jermaine Carter. But Neville Hewitt, Quan Alexander, Alua Quan, I think are your three best bets. Other than that, you're talking about guys that don't really fit under Dan Quinn. You're talking about older guys. You're talking about guys that barely played, special teams dudes. It's going to be real hard to find a veteran guy, to come in here and start that fits under Dan Quinn and Stephen Jones' cap number. What will LVE demand on the open market, says Mel. Stevie, do they have a market value next to Leighton Vander Esch? Let me go check it out. Give me a second, y'all. Hold up. I don't remember seeing one, but let's see. I don't know what his market value would be. Yeah, they don't have one. I mean, Spot Rack doesn't have a market value set to him. So that I don't know. I have no clue what he would garner. But I do know that Stephen Jones has a cap figure. It's about $5 million tops, I think. So are you cool with signing him back to $5 million a year? And if it goes above that, I think he's out. I'd rather have Quan Alexander, honestly. Tom said he heard Steven has Rowdy on a 1 year cheap prove it deal. Well, then let's let Rowdy become a free agent, because there's another conspiracy theory out there with curses, right? We haven't won anything since Rowdy has become a mascot. Mo doesn't like him. He says he puts his head down. What'd you say? The guy puts his head down and works. Oh, and it works. Bring him back. I guess you do like him. Ruben said no market value means he ain't worth shit. Nah, I think I don't know why Spot Rack does that. I wish they just listed market value for everybody. I think that'd be real cool. But they only have Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup, Randy Gregory, and Connor Williams and Cedric Wilson. So almost all of the 2018 draft class they have the market value for, but they don't have it for Leighton for whatever reason. So this looks like a mixed bag. Some of you guys want to bring him back. Some of you are saying no. Yesterday, I hung up on somebody. Who the hell did I hang up on? I didn't hang up on that dude. That guy hung up on himself. What are you talking about? I'll let you know if I hang up on somebody. Again, if you want to call in, you got something to say, the line is open, bruh. 351-999-3787. Other than that, we're going to head on up out of here in a quick second. Let's finish through some of these comments. Devin Lloyd, N'Kobe Dean, Troy Anderson will be here anyway, says Stevie Mack. And Troy Anderson was one of the guys from Foots the King. That when he was here and he was talking about some of his Senior Bowl guys. And we'll have Foots back on, I think, tomorrow. I got to actually reach back out to him and see if he wants to come back on and talk about our risers, I guess fallers from Senior Bowl. Just know Cowboys are going to draft at least one or two of those guys. They're going to draft one or two of those guys. So stay tuned for that. But Devin Lloyd, N'Kobe Dean, or Troy Anderson, I would love any of those dudes. Any of them. Big N'Kobe Dean guy. Troy Anderson to me is super intriguing because He only has 1 year at the position, but he's stupid athletic. Played quarterback, played running back, receiver, played every damn thing, and was all Big Sky as a linebacker in 1 year. So, you know, he's not Micah Parsons, but if you look at Micah Parsons, played running back, played defensive end, got to Penn State, and was all world linebacker after a year and a half of playing the position. Let's also remember Dan Quinn can coach him up. Right? Dan Quinn can coach him up. So if you get somebody in here with good traits, high football IQ, and if you play next to Micah, I think that makes you better as well. I don't think it's a coincidence that LVE had maybe his best year since his rookie season playing next to Micah Parsons. So I'm not asking for any of these Lloyds, these Kobe Deans, Troy Anderson, whomever else to come in here and be a perfect or finished product. That's not going to happen. They're going to come in here with flaws, every single last one of these prospects. And this is why I don't like to overdo it, because what happens is you end up overanalyzing all these prospects, and next thing you know, we're talking about how awful certain parts of their game is, and we forget that these are just 19, 20, 21-year-old kids, 22-year-old kids that have to come in here and develop. You're not drafting these guys for what they are now. You're drafting them for what they can be. So they're all going to come in here flawed. But you put them next to Michael, and you put them under Dan Quinn. I like my odds. Last one here. Brandon Boyd says, "What's up with Bobby Wagner? He could be a cap casualty. That's all I know. He's got a huge cap number next year. Depends what Seattle does, right? You got to follow the Russell Wilson stuff, follow the Pete Carroll. I don't think Pete's going to be fired. But if they decide to start retooling there, Bobby Wagner could be a cap casualty. I'm not even going to pretend like he'd be an option here. So I'm not even going to waste my time. But he still was very good last year. It's just, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money. No. CT Madden, he does not, and he is not allowed to. I don't want to get into the details in here. Just know that True Colors came out with the gentleman, CT Madden, and that type of person is not allowed on this channel, at least. And if I see it, you know, you're gone. And his True Colors came out. I'm not with none of that. And I'll leave it at that. With that said, let's go ahead and get up out of here. And tomorrow we will return back with some of these free agents. Probably the 2018 draft class may surprise you. Maybe we'll go J-Ron Curse. But I do want to get some type of Senior Bowl action in tomorrow with Foots. So we'll reach out to Foots and see what happens. All right. Reach out to Foots and see if we can get some more talk about this draft as we continue to move forward and get ready for this dang on Super Bowl on Sunday. With that said, y'all, appreciate you being here, man. Appreciate you coming through. Really do appreciate the support. All of the donations, the chat. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all like. And most importantly, share this thing. Tune in later on tonight. Mauricio Rodriguez will be in the building. A to Z Sports Prime Time. Check out A to Z Sports Dallas.com. We out of here. Peace. Salute to CD Mac. Stevie Mac, the mod guy.
I want me some glory hole.